Climate Resilience Committee. And I'll note that we have a quorum. And I'll read the script. This meeting is being held in person. It can also be viewed on local cable channel 1303 or on the internet by accessing bucksportmaine.gov and selecting agendas and minutes and choosing this meeting and clicking on the video button next to the meeting. Questions or comments may be submitted during the meeting by emailing rich.rotella@bucksportmaine.gov or during the meeting by calling 307-8030. I think we all know each other, but let's do a very quick introduction for those who might be listening in. My name is Ralph Chapman. I'm the chair of this committee. And why don't we go this way?
Okay. Stephen St. Peter Jr. I'm an EV advocate and I own the local EV chapter here in town.
Peter Fitzgerald.
Emily Fitzgerald.
Rich Rotella, Community and Economic Development Director.
Christopher Johnson.
And we're missing Tracy Hare today. She's out of town, and it may very likely be, I haven't heard from Suzanne DePhillips, but if she's coming, it's likely she would be about 10 minutes late. And we have our service providers with us, and maybe you could introduce yourselves very quickly.
Sure, Alan Kratz.
And Debbie Grimmick.
Thank you, thank you. There's one other announcement, which is 4 of the members of this committee were appointed by the town council to the Community Resilience Committee. And 5 members of this committee were appointed by the town council to the Climate Resilience Committee. So there's a name disparity, and I would like us to settle on a name. The name is obviously up to town council, but I think it reasonable that our minutes, our agendas, our resolves, our grant applications all use the same committee name rather than having 2 committee names. So if anyone in the room knows of a compelling reason why it ought to be named Community Resilience Committee or Climate Resilience Committee, please speak up. Is there any compelling reason that anyone knows of for it being one or the other?
What's the exact name of the grant?
The grant comes from the Community Resilience Partnership, and I've used that consistently. Community Resilience Partnership is where the grant funding comes from.
And that may be why the committee was called Community Resilience at one point, but it's also been called Climate Resilience. And with no compelling reason, does anyone have a preference as to what name we go by?
It doesn't really matter to me.
I would say community for that reason, but also community seems to be the tying focus that we have.
I agree with them 100%.
I do also.
Any objection if we recommend or continue in the future calling it the Community Resilience Committee?
I have no
I
problem.
may be the primary person who's always called it the Climate Resilience Committee because that's the name of the committee I was appointed to, but I'm happy to continue on with the Community Resilience Committee. Agenda review. I've sent you the proposed agenda. And any comments on it? Any changes needed? Suzanne, if you could quickly introduce yourself for anyone who might be listening to us.
I am Suzanne Phillips, and I'm part of the committee.
Great, thank you.
Welcome.
We have everyone here on the committee except for Tracy, who's out of town. And we certainly have a quorum. We're at the agenda review. We're looking to see if there are any changes that the committee members want to make on the proposed agenda.
No.
Any?
Also,
That's good.
And then we'll follow this unless something comes up that requires us to change it. The minutes of our last meeting. Thank you, Debbie, for putting together the minutes. It's a 4-page PDF that I distributed by email. Are there any concerns with the minutes? Any changes that anyone sees are necessary, or corrections, or questions,
Not at this time.
or comments?
I just thought the minutes were great.
I know.
I learned
I did too.
as much from the minutes as I did from the meeting, to be honest with you. So, how bright I am. Thank you very much, Debbie, for those very comprehensive minutes.
Yes, it was really good, because
Hearing no need for any changes, the minutes are accepted as written, and thank you very much. That leads us to, I want to call on our service providers to provide us any additional information or update that they may have about the program from the governor's office of policy innovation in the future. And I would also be interested in discussing a few other questions that I have on my agenda, but
Sure, I'll give one sentence of an update. The application deadline for the current grant round continues to be August 29th, and happy to field any questions.
okay, good. Any, do members have any questions for Alan?
Not at this time.
So, Alan, I do have some questions, and by email, you've informed me of some comments with respect to these things, but it's appropriate for everyone to be up to speed. So, relative to the schedule of the grant application, or the options available to us for what schedule we follow, my question is, do we need or do we not need another community meeting that call in the public to provide us input on a grant application? Is one question.
It could be advisable, it's not necessary. I think that depends on the way things go. You, as a committee, have been, I'm assuming, representing your community members and are tuned to the interests that the members of the community have. So I think you're fine without doing that. If you wanted to do it, that becomes a timing issue. We're facing a busy summer season, and I guess no season is optimal, but to get a good community engagement process going could require a couple of weeks of planning and advertising, and time is growing short, certainly for an August 29th deadline.
Okay, and relative to the involvement of an intern from the Island Institute, I have two questions there, and one is just the benefit to us of using an Island Institute intern, but the other is, what does that do with our scheduling?
Sure. So I've been corrected in my wording. They actually use the word fellow. That has a very gender-specific name to
Rather
it, but
than intern.
I prefer intern, but they call it fellow. Anyway, the Island Institute for many years, for more than 2 decades, has had the Island Institute Fellow Program, in which the Island Institute engages recent college graduates to help promote the purposes of the Island Institute, whether it's energy coaching, whether it's storm management, whether it's all sorts of issues that the Island Institute does here on the coast. The Island Institute has a very fine-tuned process for interviewing and matching fellows, as they call them, with host communities. Host communities bear the responsibility of working with the Island Institute to make sure that the placement is a good one. The Island Institute, for its work, provides certain benefits to the town in that they handle all of the administrative work of hiring and mentoring and supporting a fellow. They also provide for housing, which is a huge, they provide the housing for a fellow. They pay the fellows a stipend of minimum wage. But for that, the Island Institute Fellows do get housing, which certainly has a dollar-denominated value in many ways. And typically, there are about a dozen who come on each year, and then they serve a 2-year period. So there's an overlap, and there have been Island Institute Fellows on Islesboro, Brooklyn, Hancock County Planning Commission, all up and down the coast. So it's a very well-run program, and typically Island Institute Fellows go on to work in other places. A number of them work for state government now on the basis of their experience. So it's a very popular program among recent college graduates and also among towns who like having somebody else bear the administrative burden of hiring, supervising, paying, and doing all of that. So that's the benefit of the Island Institute Fellow Program.
And relative, if we have an Island Institute Fellow involved with our work as a committee, what are the implications of that to our schedule?
So that's the reason that you may have noticed in what Debbie and I proposed to you. I've had conversations, let me back up. I've had conversations the past 10 days with both the Governor's Office of Policy Innovation in the Future, Ashley Krulik, who you've spoken with on other matters, and also Lisa Millette from the Island Institute. The Island Institute has a program year that begins on September 1st. This is when they do their placements because they're hiring recent college graduates who have come off of college and have spent the summer, and then they start in September. So their program year is September 1 to August 31. The grant performance period for the current grant round, the deadline for applications being August 29th, that grant performance period begins in January or February. So they're out of sync. However, the Governor's Office is going to be doing another grant round number 7, opening up in January, where that funding will become firm in July, August, which would sync then with starting an Island Institute Fellow placement. So there's an alignment there. So if this committee were to go in that route and were to apply next January, the month of January, February, March, April would be the state looking at the application, the Island Institute working with you on what you want as a fellow, and there'd be that interviewing process. And then these things would come together in terms of funding and placement in July, August, for September 1, start of a 2-year placement funded by the Island Institute, or funded by this grant. And I should say that the Island Institute, in consideration for doing all that it does, it requires of host communities $15,000 a year. That pays for the housing, it pays for the stipend, and that's what the state already has paid for in Brooklyn. So there is good precedent for the state recognizing the value and paying towns to hire an Island Institute Fellow. Does that all make sense?
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So you lost me a little bit, just on the timing part. So but I want to ask a couple questions.
Sure.
So the grant and the fellow, they're together. So you can't, like the town, it's that fellow is based on us receiving or winning the grant. And then we would have this administrative person who could help facilitate all, as we move forward. Okay, that's great.
That person's duties would be to do, for example, energy coaching, help oversee a risk assessment, a climate risk assessment, all those things. Yeah,
So
that's part of their work.
So they essentially would be the subject matter expert on what's happening within the town of Bucksport when it comes to this, because it would
Subject
be-
matter expert, but more facilitator.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Basically
'cause
like a
it's-
staff person to help facilitate.
they're gonna know all the ins and outs that's going on with it because they're doing it. So then you said, so this grant is the 29th of August. And then if it's funded in January, correct? But then there's another grant.
No, if a grant application was submitted on August 29th and it prevails, then the funding comes in January.
Okay.
the hitch is that the state will not extend its grant period to cover those last 6 months of the 2-year Island Institute Fellow.
Okay,
That's the problem. That was my question. Can't you just extend the grant performance period? And they can't. They're getting funding, federal funding, and there's certain strictures. So the state, in this grant round, the August 29th deadline, that will only be from January for 2 years.
okay, from January to January,
Right.
or December
December, yeah,
31st.
uh-huh.
And it's for this particular grant that we're doing for the,
Well, the suggestion is that inasmuch as there could be benefits to this committee to having an Island Institute Fellow, I think I've lost your question, I'm sorry.
so, because we're gonna lose last few months of the fellow
Right.
with this grant because of the timing of it.
Mhm.
So I guess what I got lost, and you said there was another grant in January.
Right, the state has different grant rounds, we're in round number 6.
Okay.
There will be a new one, number 7.
Okay.
Starting in January, it'll be the same type of application, the same qualifications, presumably the same dollar amount. It's just 6 months later.
Okay, so it could maybe pick up the last few months, because I guess my question is if we went ahead with the fellow for this grant for number 6, and they started in January.
The fellow won't start in January. I talked with the Island Institute. They won't do a year and a half. They won't do it early.
And they can't overlap the two grants. They're
No,
completely
that's
separate.
why I'm thinking if the Island Institute Fellow has some benefit to you, it would make sense to align them so they're congruent.
Okay,
They're on,
I understand.
it basically is summer for 2 years,
Okay.
like September 1 to August 31 for 2 years.
But if we get this grant on number 6, we're still under a timeline for completing it, correct?
Yeah, and it basically won't work. You have to get an Island Institute Fellow because you'd have the money, but you couldn't get a fellow for a year, but you'd have the money beforehand, and how would you spend it? It just doesn't line up.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but that means that if we proceed with the this August deadline for the grant application, then we're not using an Island Institute Fellow.
Right.
If we pause what we're doing or begin, put in the grant application next year, January, then it could include the Island Institute
Right.
Fellow. So that's a decision that we would need to make, which of those two options to go with.
I will say that deferring, pausing, let me back up. Debbie and I are committed to preparing whatever you want now, so you have a ready-to-submit application in January. And I've talked with Jana Richards, who was there last month. Debbie and I, our contract ends in September, but Jen is willing to carry this forward and help with the submission. So that's already talked with Jana. Deferring until January gives you the benefit of having another community meeting where you could take the application, take your work, and vet it with the community and see, is this the direction we want to go? And presumably that will be a yes, and that substantiates and validates and creates an even more persuasive application to be submitted in January. So there is that advantage. It gives you more time. And it gives you basically, I don't know if the applications are shovel-ready, but whatever the digital version of a shovel-ready application is what you'd have.
But can I ask another question?
Yes.
So I'm not in for leaving money on the table. I think that we have an opportunity to apply for a grant, and we've been working on this, and I think every time you kick the can down the road, it just keeps getting kicked, like kind of what you were saying last meeting. So that doesn't appeal to me in the sense, and I do think we represent the community and we have to make a decision. And you know what, I just think that it's a time suck. But the other part is that we could still apply for another grant, number 7, correct?
You can apply only if you've completed first grant.
Okay, and we don't know how much that grant's gonna be for number 7.
The indications are, and it's been consistent, it's $75,000.
That's my only concern, is that I think that we shouldn't be, we've been talking about this, and I think we just have to make a decision. I do think, my opinion is that having obviously an administrative person to handle this is, value. So there's huge value because we're all working, we're volunteers and, so there is a value to that, but I'm always hesitant about leaving money on the table. And because we don't know in this environment what's really gonna happen in January. It can completely change and there could be no grant. So it's like you have to weigh what's important, but thank you.
I will say that the grant, we do not expect, the governor's office does not expect the funding to change because this is money that it has in the bank. So this is part of a 5-year program that the state has.
I have a question for Rich. So we also kind of have a timeline with town council. Could we, in the resolve for town council, say, like, if we were still to decide now or next meeting or soon what it is we're going to do and make that plan to get a resolve ready, can we in that resolve say we plan to apply for the grant in January?
Because I think what we need to do is get, as a community, be part of it, and that's what the holdup's been, is we have not gotten that status. And that has to be the enrollment status, and that has to happen prior to your time with us.
Explain that one more time.
So what I've seen, because I've been gone for the last 2 months, I was here for the last meeting, but was that we've been stuck on getting ourselves in the enrollment status because we've been waiting for what are we going to do.
Yes.
We can't do anything unless we have the enrollment status, and if we do not do it while these folks are working with us,
We're not getting anything.
we won't even, correct me if I'm wrong, we won't even get any grants because we
Right.
don't have anyone,
Condition,
have to be the
condition,
committee, yeah.
that's the first step to be enrolled.
I follow you. I agreed with you last time, because I think that we could keep talking, but we need to take action at some level. Obviously, enrollment is super important, and I think we just need to make decisions, and on whatever we decide to do. I know Tracy will probably have she's not here to make that decision right now, because this to me is also part of that, but I think we might have to have another meeting.
So are there other questions for Alan?
I do have one question as it pertains to Jana. I think I knew, but I think I forgot. Town of Bucksport did not renew its membership with Hancock County Planning Commission. So does that mean we do not get her service, or is she paid directly from GoPIF and it doesn't matter if we're a member?
She's paid for the latter. She, as she mentioned last time, she has a 5-year contract with the state to be a regional coordinator for this program. So her sole position, she's not doing comprehensive plans, she's not doing that other work that a town might typically contract for. She's focused on providing the sort of service that Debbie and I have been doing. We have a 1-year contract, she has a 5-year contract, and I had a conversation with her last night by email, and she is fine with doing whatever you want to do to help take things to the finish line whenever.
Okay.
I have one other question for you, Alan, which is there any difficulty with us enrolling in the Community Resilience Partnership with GoPIF and not submitting an application until January? In other words, one has to precede the other, or they have to be done simultaneously, if I understand.
The typical pattern is the towns enroll and then they later submit an application. This is the reverse.
So in that sense,
So there's no disadvantage.
there's no reason for us not to enroll, because even if we enroll and choose not to submit an application, it does us no harm. So I think
Let's enroll.
It's very clear that we would want to enroll, and we would want to enroll soon. And that's one of the reasons we had the meeting today, is so that we get on the agenda by day after tomorrow. Deadline to get on the agenda for the town council meeting a week a week and 2 days from today.
Exactly, that's correct.
Okay, and that suggests to me that we would want to have a resolve ready for town council to enroll.
Yes.
Yes, thank you for those. Any other questions before we proceed on to discussing the grant application itself? I mean, there are two additional major things that we want to discuss: the grant application and the resolve to enroll. And I thought we'd take up the grant application first, just to have a sense of where we are with that, get some response from committee members on the work that Alan and Debbie have done in putting together this 19-page application. And I'd like us, maybe we could all go around and give our impressions of what our impressions are of it, and as well as any particular comments, clarifications, concerns that we might have with it.
I just wanna I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna do that, so if you had a question first, go ahead.
So just based on the previous conversation, okay, I just wanna make sure, I apologize, that I'm in sync. So the application is based on whatever if we're going to submit it in August or whether we're gonna submit it in January, correct?
That's correct. What the application was an effort to synthesize a couple of things. All of the comments that were made last week,
Right.
which were actually aggregate of early conversations. And then Peter and Ralph also provided documentation that I melded into the application that was very helpful. So that's what this is. And this could be done, this is written assuming that there would be, proposing that there's an island fellow to do this. You would have the option, I think, of figuring out how to hire somebody individually on your own, if that's the way you wanted to go, and proceed for August 29th. That's, you voiced your opinion, others may have other opinion. I'm not venturing, that's really for you as a committee to decide.
So my next thing is just based on this and what we just learned, what we discussed, we need to enroll. So to me, that should be the priority, is just enroll, because we do have time for this application.
Right,
So,
it's the little trick here is that the enrollment process involves a resolve from the town which indicates what we want to do when we enroll. If I'm correct in that.
Yeah, actually, maybe Rich, you could pull up the draft, the resolve that I did. And this is basically has 3 points. Be it resolved that the town commits to participating in the partnership, designates the Bucksport Community Resilience Committee to coordinate planning and implementation. And then the third, and this is where you may want to change the language, it authorizes the service provider team to work with the committee to prepare for town council's review an application for no local match funding up to $75,000 to implement one of or a combination of the strategies that you mentioned last time, with such application to be submitted to the Community Resilience Partnership, that's to Augusta, in the grant round that will open, I put in here January 2026, but if you wanted to make it August 2029, that's, the last line there, Rich, that's the question.
So, but what you said before is that if we did this resolve, if we did the not the application, if we submitted this, we could essentially still, if we put August of 2025, we could still, because we've now submitted it, we can actually do it in January if we wanted to, correct? Or submit
I would change the language to say submit an application at such timing as the committee deems possible.
Okay,
advisable.
So to me, cause we don't really have to decide based on what this is how I interpreted when I read it. And I did not read the 19-page application, I'll be honest with you, I didn't
Sure.
have time, but I did read this. So this is all of the, like, we all kind of talked about what was important to us as far as all of the line items. So they're all identified. So if we submit this, then we have to, and with the wording that you just, you edited, then we have time to decide on whether it's August or January, and also to go to the town council to, because we don't have to decide on specifics because we haven't decided yet. So to me, that would be the priority, because
Okay.
while we have,
This is written in a way that provides exactly that flexibility.
yeah, that's how I interpreted this.
It says, implement one of or a combination of strategies, C1, C5, V5, and so on. So
I do think it's important to recognize that we did approve the agenda as is, though.
Right.
the agenda,
Yeah, at the beginning, we agreed on the agenda.
we're not, are we deviating?
No, yeah, we're not.
Oh, I thought you were arguing to skip this.
No,
part.
I'm making a point that we were saying that you were making the point that we have to decide on, like one of those five, what we're gonna do, but based on this, the way this reads and the way it's being submitted and what our discussions that we've had, we just need to enroll, and we still have time to figure out specifically what we're going to do.
Right, we have plenty of things on our plate. We have about a half hour today to work on it. And I would like to get to both items.
Okay.
That doesn't mean that we will conclude both items. That is to say, we may have considerable further discussion that we want to have about about the application and the way the project would go. We also have, let me point out that we also have the option, if we choose to assign from our membership a subcommittee to dig in, if we need to dig into details. But I would like to hear from committee members a general commentary over the reactions to the proposal that our service providers have provided to us.
Ralph, could I just pivot back to make a process suggestion I think would synthesize this?
Yes?
That would be to look at the resolve here and change the wording at the end to be such application to be submitted to Community Resilience Partnership in such timing as the committee may recommend. That gives you maximum flexibility. It says to the council on the 24th that you will be back to the council with a recommendation further, but this at least resolves in one way or the other. It resolves, to use that word, enrollment. So I will send a new word, and the wording would be in such timing as the committee may recommend. So that's just my process suggestion to set up now the discussion of the,
So let me ask the committee, would you like to alter our agenda to take up the resolve first, and then in essence, I'm switching asking if you would like to switch the discussion of the grant application with a discussion of the town resolution. Flip those so that we discuss the town resolution first and perhaps get that out of the way, and then move on to a discussion of the application. Is the committee okay with making that switch?
I believe so, yeah.
Hearing no objection, then let's take up the resolve. Are there questions, clarifications about the resolve that we could ask our service providers or anyone else that we would be asking the town council to approve, to adopt this resolve at their meeting in a week from this Thursday. The reason for us meeting today is that if we want to be on the agenda for the meeting a week from Thursday, the deadline to get on the agenda is 2 days from now, this Thursday. So what commentary do members have about the resolve?
I'm just a little bit concerned with how many of these line items we have in there. Could that be a problem?
I think it would, for the council or for you? For whom would be a problem? You anticipating?
Is there any problem for enrollment?
No. This is a typical format that Debbie and I have used with other towns. Typically, they mention 3 or 5 different strategies, and then that's what goes forward. And you're not bound by them, but it's good guidance. It's good direction to the council and to the governing body and to you. And my sense is there's fairly good consensus on these.
And Rich, do you feel there might be a problem with council seeing so many different ideas, or because we were a little worried when we first asked to continue longer, to have more time, we were a little worried. Do you think that this makes it look like we're not prepared, or do you think that's good?
No, I don't think that's too many. I think there's some different options in there, and it shows that the committee's really looked at a broad base, and that if they know in advance, and I think Tracy can speak eloquently as a member of the council, that these are the 5, we're not necessarily set on these in any particular order, and we'll take off what we rank the highest or can get funding for to make happen. I think it's explained that it's not 5 things nilly-willy thrown here and we just don't have any clue. These are the top 5 priorities, and we really want to take this time to really dive into them. I don't see it being a problem.
And it also shows that we're trying to submit so we don't lose the opportunity. So, so that we're being diligent. And 'cause
Yeah,
there was
I
like
just want to make sure
71
we're on the either front that it.
I get it, good question.
So the resolve itself does not commit us to every item in an application.
Right.
Are there other comments or questions about the resolve?
I've got 2. One's just the housekeeping. So the new clerk is
Jacob
Kelly
Grant.
Herrick.
Okay.
No, Jacob Grant is the town manager now. Kelly Herrick, Herrick.
Debbie has that.
Yeah. And 2, should the resolve, if we're gonna talk about a fellow, should a resolve be in there? Because if we come to the council, and I wanna make sure I heard this part right, asking for $15,000 for a fellow, should they not know that beforehand, or is that really gonna be a moot point? Because if we apply in August, we're not gonna be using the fellow anyway, because we'll be outside those parameters. Or how do we handle the fellow part?
So you have not decided that yet.
Yeah.
So I would leave it blank. And the fellow is, just so that everyone's clear, the $15,000 a year that goes to the Island Institute is paid from the grant proceeds. So it's not an expenditure by the town.
Okay, so 75,000 minus 15, so
Yeah,
really
that-
there's 60,000 to
Right,
get.
the budget, when
Okay.
we get to page 19 in the budget, that'll show that that's not a burden on the town.
Okay, do we have to find office space for this person?
No.
Perfect. Those are my 2 questions.
No, thank you for that clarification. Other questions? Other comments?
No, none at this time.
I'm happy with it.
I believe that there's a typo on the number of the resolve in the third paragraph. I was unable to check it because I couldn't find the resolves online, but further up to the top.
Resolve R 2004-31.
Right, I believe it's 2024-31, but I obviously I'm
I'm
not.
sure you're correct, thank you.
With the corrections of the last sentence that Alan made reference to, in such timing as the committee may recommend, and the correction of the typo on the resolve number on the third paragraph. Making those two changes, is the committee happy with this resolve? Is there any dissension about going ahead with getting this on the agenda for town council a week from Thursday?
That sounds good to me.
I'm happy with that. It was well done.
Hearing no dissension, it's a decision. We'll proceed with that resolve. Is the resolve number at the very top 20254? Is that?
It should be 2025, and then there would be a dash, and then whatever we're at for resolve numbers upstairs. I think they went through 8 at the first meeting.
Right,
So I will send you a revised version with the corrections, and then you'll put in the right number.
good. And is that something that you can, do we need the printed material with the corrections made to get on the agenda day after tomorrow?
Yeah, we wouldn't want to. Yes, please.
You'll have it tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow, Thursday.
Might
Yep.
even have it tonight.
Yeah.
I have my laptop here.
So Alan will make those corrections, send it to you.
And I'll get to Jacob.
And you'll get it onto the agenda. Good, we're settled with that. Let's now go back to the 19-page application and to give our impressions of what's there. Yes, Emily.
So, I mean, we've kind of gone around a lot, and the two ideas we were the most interested in have their issues. I think that the dollar amount of what an inventory would cost poses a problem for this grant. Not, I mean, great for trying to figure it out how to get it done, because we would need a much smaller grant. But for this, maybe it doesn't make as much sense, and the concerns with maybe not all of it falls in line with the grant. Some of it does, some of it doesn't.
Which inventory are you referring to? The Habitat inventory or the
Emerald
vulnerable?
Ash Borer?
Emerald Ash Borer
I think-
inventory.
I
Yeah.
think you took that off the table. I understood.
So, yeah. So, you know, given that, and given that we have our issues with the generator thing as well and whatnot. But last meeting, we really we had a lot of voices say something similar, the energy coaching program. I think that, and now that we're saying there's a fellow that might be able to help with that, that makes me feel a little stronger on this, because some of those things, like creating a new program or something, I feel like we don't have a whole lot of experience with that individually. And that could be really difficult. But if we had an opportunity to have somebody who's actually done it before, then maybe it makes that that choice a little stronger.
So if I hear your concerns correctly, you're a little concerned that the proposal as written has a wide range of project areas in it, rather than a focused set of
For the
project
actual
areas.
application.
Other general comments on the application?
So just so I'm clear, Emily, you're proposing, you liked the particular, for the application, you're making a point to say that you like the energy coaching is for the one that you feel strongly to support because of the fellow. But I just want to understand, the fellow, is it just for energy coaching or is it for the grant as a whole under any of the ones that we?
Before the energy coaching,
It is for energy coaching. So if we don't select a grant top, like a line that has energy coaching, then we don't have a fellow.
right?
Okay, thank you. I didn't understand that at all. I thought it was overall for the grant.
Can we pull up well, actually, can I elaborate on the budget for a minute?
Yeah.
So, task one would be the energy coaching, that's $30,000,
Okay.
2 years of 15. Task two would be an education campaign, and this is where you as a committee would do various programs, and the 175 is basically monthly forms that would cover speakers' fees or mileage or things like that. Task number three, this would be a natural resource inventory. This is to pick up the concerns that we heard about Emerald Ash Borer, but there are other natural resources that are at risk with climate stressors. So this would be a very valid figure for hiring a consultant. That would be done by the town to do that piece. And then task number four, similarly doing a social vulnerability assessment of people who are most at risk from climate change. That could be done for that amount of 14.5. Again, a consultant who'd be working on behalf of, in contract with the town. And then task number five would be done by an intern, not an Island Institute fellow, but by an intern who could work part-time to help promote community gardening, local food sourcing, and so on and so forth.
I know
And then that all rolls up. If you could go to the next screen, Rich. You can see how these roll up in this is the more itemized budget.
So we can do multiple things with one grant.
That is actually very advantageous because the state likes to see multiple strategies advanced.
I like this. So basically, all of our line items are really identified in here.
Right, I thought we had to pick this one thing.
No. That looks great. That I really, because then we all kind of have a little bit, so the town is benefiting from multiple, that's wonderful. I didn't understand that, so that's why I was about to ask that these are all of our line items, but that,
And each of them is allocated a cost
Okay.
with its, what we paid for by the bottom line, I think, was what, 74,000, right?
yes.
My only concern with that list is just, maybe something other than a community garden, because, I know it was expressed before that we can try again, but it was tried very recently. So it's not the issues are very current with the community garden.
What was the
We were
issue?
there, we were there.
What was
Yeah.
the issue with the community
So-
garden?
That task.
Land is the number one thing. Where do you put it? And that was gone over at length over and over and over again. Two locations seemed a little promising and both fell through with landowners for one reason or another. So where it's at right now, which is very recently, is
Dead in the water.
dead in the water. We don't have a place to put it.
So,
I don't want to discuss this detail. I'm looking for general comments about this.
I have a question on the part of the screen that says 10% local share. It's a blued out section there somewhere.
It's
Right
that
here.
you-
Grant administration.
Oh, okay.
no,
No, right underneath
No.
it.
That's underneath the scroll.
scroll up a
Scroll
little
up,
bit.
there you go.
Is this
No,
up?
it's another
No,
one.
the next page. Right there.
So what am I looking at there?
That's irrelevant because you are, as a community, you don't have to pay a local match because you're doing things that were on that list of 96.
So that would be really nice to take
That-
that off.
Well, that's part of the state's form. We can take it off, but that's,
It just, okay.
In other words, it's a non-applicable
I
piece. of the
really
site.
understand, I do understand.
Chris, do you have other, general comments on the
No,
application?
no, thank you.
Steve, do you
Oh.
have general comments on the application?
I don't know, I briefly looked at it a few days ago, I think, or yesterday, I don't know. All the days are starting.
Peter?
I haven't had a chance to look at it yet, but knowing that it incorporates everything that we talked about in the last meeting and the emails we sent around recently, I'm sure that it's, and based on the other feedback, it sounds like it's well written.
I have a question. Think about it. Are we obligated to do all five tasks here with this grant? If something changes, are we obligated, or is the money allocated ahead of time? In other words, if we all of a sudden decide we're gonna do 1 through 4, but 5 isn't gonna work out, what happens if we don't do 5? Do we lose a percentage of the money?
Yes, the money would go back. There'd be recapture.
So the money will be identified up front as to how much is gonna be allocated for each one.
That's right, and every quarter a report is filed indicating how much of the allocation was spent.
Okay, and that's reported back to,
It's reported back to the state.
do we have we must be able to see that too?
Oh, sure.
Okay,
Yeah, you prepare the report.
all right, thank you.
So I have a few comments, having looked at the application. And although some of the clarifications have been very helpful. I was concerned that the training, especially of professionals, is absent from the narrative. There's no mention of connection to the schools, regular or technical high schools. The methods of outreach are not well defined. The number of visitations per year is way too low. I think this was probably taken from Brooklyn. Bucksport has a population more than 6 times Brooklyn's population. I would be I understand the benefit for promising low and delivering high as opposed to promising high and delivering low. At the same time, if the information that I have about the number of poverty households in Bucksport suggests that we would reach only, it would take us 5 years to even get to half of them if we went at this low rate and only concentrated on the poverty households. In other words, what we're getting for what we're able to do, I think has been. I think rather than 25 a year, one should be aiming for 150 a year, for example. That's 6 times greater than Brooklyn because our population is 6 times greater. The costs of the every door direct mailing similarly I think is off by about a factor of 6. There are 2,900 addresses in Bucksport and Verona. You have to include Verona because of the way the postage routes go. $700 for the postage for all addresses for each every door direct mailing. I would think we'd need at least 2, preferably 3, and that doesn't include the printing costs, which I think would be hard to get for less than $1 each. So I think $12,000 to $15,000 is needed for the mailing.
Can I say something?
Yes, but
I thought we weren't gonna go into the details. So I think what you're trying to say is that you don't think these figures are correct with this, correct?
that's correct. And I've finished my list. What I'm wondering is, since we're at the end of a few minutes toward the end of our meeting, whether we want to work on the details of the application, what the projects would actually look like, what the costs would be to implement them the way we would like to implement them. Whether that's work that we want to do as a committee, as a subcommittee, or let it go the way it is.
Where are the estimates coming from?
So the estimates are based on, there's some rationale there based on what we've, Debbie and I've done elsewhere for other applications. I just want to call your attention to the word that's in diagonal here. It's draft. And we put this together wanting this to be the test case, understanding that Debbie and I then would take comments like Ralph and others have provided. We hear that, and we will make this a better draft. But we don't have much in here for other rationale. We're very strong in the energy, but we need language, and we'll get that from you as a committee. So I think that's an important task to be done. What I suggest in the remaining 6 minutes is that you make a decision about how you would like. We can take your input and incorporate it if that's the way you wish to go. Still on the table is the question of timing. Do you want to go for August 29th or wait for the next year? And I think that if I were in your position, I would want to wait and have somebody come in and do that hard administrative work. Our experience with committees has been that those committees work best that have technical expertise, a consultant, an intern, a fellow working with them. It's just been our experience because all of us as volunteers, with many other things, find it hard to launch a program. That's the value of an Island Institute Fellow program. And I don't know that it's leaving money on the table. The advice that we got from Ashley Krulig was that's actually a good idea to synchronize those two things. I'll just add that.
I do have concerns trying to do some of these things without somebody who has done it before. And I appreciate that you had asked, that you covered the concern about continuing and whether or not the funding would be available, that funding is kind of already there. So that's also encouraging. I personally would think it would be good to do January, given all of the balances.
I kind of agree with her. We better take our time and figure out what we want to do, and we gotta have somebody that has the training and stuff like that to do this with us.
That also gives us the time to have another community meeting, which improves our chances of winning the grant funding.
I'm fine with January.
You had commented,
I'm okay with January if you think that the money is, I am one, like, just being on committees and being in government for a long time, these things can just keep going and never stop. I think we need to make sure we submit our resolve so we get on the books and that we left it open. So we've already agreed on that. So, if that is done, then I'm okay with January. I just think,
That we can't do it again.
Huh?
That we can't do it again.
You can't do it again, and hopefully things, you just don't know with this environment what's really gonna happen, but if you've already had conversations with the people that are, they would probably tell you, it's, kind of, it's unsure, but you're saying no, they're pretty confident.
The source of funding is part NOAA and it's part the state legislature.
She said it's in the bank, though. I remember those words.
It's in the bank, money's in the
That's what
bank.
they've been telling us, yes.
Okay.
We've had no problems submitting invoices and getting reimbursed.
Sounds great, thank you.
so let me ask the committee about a next meeting. We're on schedule for joining the Community Resilience Partnership. There is additional work to be done on the application. I'm sorry, I skipped over this question about the timing. Rich, did you have any comment?
I'm good with it.
And I'm fine with it as well, so I guess we're aiming for the January 1st application date.
Inasmuch as you've made that decision, at least I sense you've made that decision, my recommendation for process would be that we send you a Word document. You've converted it to a PDF. But if members of the committee then could go through and whatever time you want to take, add what you need to say, correct things, mark it up. Debbie and I will incorporate those comments, and we can do that during the month of August. And by September 1st, have a document that, as I say, is ready for you to advance the next grant round. We're happy to, this was, as I say, it's a draft.
Yes.
And we didn't really develop a lot of these things. We didn't want to invest that time without getting a sense from you. We appreciate comments you have made, and we'll incorporate all of them. Does that make sense? I mean,
Sounds
comments about community garden, we don't know that history, so correct the wording.
Can those of us who don't have printers get some paper copies of this application?
Yep.
We need more time. We just got back from vacation and are still catching up with other timelines, so we could really use some paper copies to.
I'll
work
print them
up.
out and leave them upstairs, or I can bring them to you Saturday.
Thank you.
Ellen, thank you for this, and thank you for this effort. I was really amazed at all the work you guys have put into it. So I want you to understand, we're not slapping your back here and saying, but it's really nice that you did this.
Thank you, we did not take that as a slap back.
Okay,
We
all right.
take that as helpful comments.
Okay, and are we suggesting that those 5 items up there were flexible on that, or are those locked in?
We're flexible on it until we have a final draft of the application.
Okay, all right.
And I believe that the application would be stronger the more thoughtful input goes into it.
Yeah,
So,
thank you very much.
So my question now is, does the committee want to meet again as a committee to continue the conversation that we're having now on these matters, and then dig in further on the details and discuss that? Would you like to do that as a committee? I'm offering the possibility, if you think it's more effective to work it as a subcommittee of the committee, we could do it that way as well, but
I think it'd be good to do it all together.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree too.
when would you like to meet again? We're in the middle of July at the moment. We have the deadline of working with our service providers is in September. And so we may want to have a couple go around. We may want room not only for one more committee meeting, but a couple more committee meetings.
Okay.
I don't know.
Just tell me when and I'll be there. The best time for me is 5:45. It's at close at 5:30. So as long as you're okay with me being late, but I can't get here generally at 5:30.
Our last meetings, this room was being used at 6:30, which is why I didn't want to move it up. I'm happy to, if members are amenable to starting at 5:45 to
Can we
6:45.
give her a little more time? Like, I think she's being generous
Yeah.
here. Can we
We
give
could
her
just-
6 o'clock?
Or 6 o'clock.
There's a
Thank you,
standing
Evelyn.
meeting the first Tuesday of the month at 6:30, so if it's not the first Tuesday, it shouldn't be an issue. The only thing that becomes is then my availability, because the town policy is this can only be available if there is a town representative paid by the town. So like the IT doesn't qualify, it has to be a town employee. And I'm pretty open in the month of August, except for when I go to New York City. Other than that, I'm pretty free.
Are Tuesdays working out okay for?
Tuesdays are great for me.
Yeah, it works for me.
I've got other meetings, other days. Thursday's out of the question.
We're getting pretty complicated on Tuesdays, just for the summer. The rest of July and August. We run a pickup soccer program.
I'm open Wednesdays in August. Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays are a challenge.
Wednesday's fine for me.
Yeah, me as well.
Wednesdays,
So you said Wednesdays are good?
Does the schedule of this room look okay for Wednesdays in general, Rich?
Yes.
You just got it in your mind.
I'm going through every committee meeting we have.
Sure.
Wednesdays I think are pretty open.
Cemeteries on
Thursday.
Yeah.
That was the one that was stuck.
And the
Conservations during the
is-
day.
Well, yeah, I don't know when we meet on that. I don't think we've scheduled anything yet. I don't think I have it, so.
Do you want to do it as early as July 30th?
It's my birthday, I'd rather not.
Oh, really?
Not that I do anything on my birthday, but I don't know
Me
that I wanna
neither.
work all day, then come to a committee meeting.
Yeah, I do the same thing.
We could bring a cake.
Yeah, hey.
There's a Wednesday on Main event that night. Would August
Oh, that's
6th
true.
Would August 6th work?
Rats, I'd forgotten about that.
How about August 6th?
This is-
If we do it August 6th, we could then have another one maybe near the end of August as well if,
August 6th works for me.
Yeah,
still
I'm fine for August sixth.
slip in before we lose our
August 6th.
service providers.
What is the 6th?
The 6th is a Wednesday.
Wednesday? Okay. That sounds good to me, actually. Alright,
Can you send a calendar invite?
that's a good idea.
I can send them
Yeah, that way they're on our,
at 6:00, right?
Yes,
Yeah, we're gonna
6
be on
o'clock
the
to 7
schedule.
o'clock. Is an hour the right length of time for us, by the way? Would you like to extend
so.
it further?
I
or-
think so.
yeah, I think it's fine.
Thank you for all the paperwork that you're sending out,
Yeah.
by the way. I really do appreciate it. It's a lot of work goes into this.
Most of the paperwork, of course, came from our service.
So we're not gonna admit that because we want you to stand up.
Take all the credit.
I've already told him he's doing a great job.
So we're planning on August 6th at 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock.
Sounds good to me.
Thank you all.
You'll be a year older.
I
Yeah,
will be a year older, yes.
you look younger than I do.
And very quickly, any meeting evaluation comments that our members would like to say?
It went good. I wish I had more energy though. I've had a day.
Thank you very much, Ralph.
Yes, thank you for everything.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, we'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you very much.